Tonight at 10, Donald Trump rages against his conviction and confirms that he will appeal.
This is a scam. There's a rigged trial.
In a meandering speech, the likely Republican nominee for president falsely repeated claims his prosecution was politically orchestrated. Good evening. After his conviction on multiple counts of falsifying business records, Donald Trump today went on the offensive, delivering a rambling 30-minute off-the-cuff monologue during which he attacked, among others, the judge and the district attorney involved in his prosecution. President Biden called his words dangerous and irresponsible. Mr. Trump is due to be sentenced in July. He says he'll appeal. Also in July is the Republican Party convention, where he's expected to be confirmed as the party's presidential candidate. He still faces 3 other criminal trials. Well, let's go live to New York and to our correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue. Gary.
Rita, just a few hours ago, Donald Trump left this building headed for one of his golf courses after what has been a turbulent 24 hours for the former president. His one appearance today, he took aim at pretty much everyone and everything, even wandering off into a tirade about electric cars. The appeals, of course, will come after a few months, but for the moment, he remains a convicted criminal. This is where it all began 10 years ago, and today Donald Trump returned here to begin his fight back. Scrapping the teleprompter with its scripted remarks, he spent 40 minutes ad-libbing and railing against his opponents, hurling around insults like fascist and sleazebag.
It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
This is the man Donald Trump blames for his legal woes.
It's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict. And it literally is the cornerstone of America.
8 years ago, Donald Trump famously said he could shoot someone right here in the middle of Fifth Avenue and not lose voters. Those voters may well get their chance to prove him right or wrong. As commuters arrived for work from Republican-leaning Staten Island, according to the Trump campaign, more than $34 million was raised from small donors in the hours following the guilty verdict.
This is a purely political exercise, not a legal one.
Key figures like House Speaker Mike Johnson said the conviction was absurd and outrageous. Donald Trump will undoubtedly appeal against this conviction, but that won't happen for months. This is uncharted territory in the 250-year history of this country. Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News, New York.
Donald Trump says his guilty verdicts are a travesty. Are his fellow Republicans preparing to rip up the US legal system to protect him? Here, Sir Keir Starmer paves the way for Diane Abbott to be a Labour candidate at the election. Hi, welcome to Newsnight, with you each weeknight with interviews and insight. Our Friday night political panel is here. Sonia Soda, Chief GB News. Obviously, we're going to start by talking about Donald Trump, convicted felon Donald Trump. He is angry. A day after his guilty verdicts in that hush money trial, he gave a 40-minute press conference at Trump Tower and said Americans were living in a fascist state. He called the judge in his case a devil. The devil, I should say, attacked Joe Biden and claimed without any evidence his trial had been rigged.
This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order. by a man that can't put two sentences together. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified. I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So this is the crime that I committed, that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. By the way, and nothing ever happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened, and they know it. But they were as salacious as they could be, and it had nothing to do with the case, but it had to do with politics. But the press called it slush fund and all sorts of other things. Hush money, hush money. It's not hush money. It's called the non-disclosure agreement, and it all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. He's the worst president in the history of our country, the most incompetent. He's the dumbest president we've ever had. He's the dumbest president, most incompetent president, and he's the most dishonest president we've ever had. We're dealing with a corrupt government. We have a corrupt country. Our elections are corrupt. Our borders are open. Our borders are going to be closed very soon. November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, let's speak to a man who's watched American politics for 35 years. He's Republican pollster Frank Luntz. Thank you very much for talking to our 12 men and women, peers of Donald Trump, listened to all the evidence. They found him guilty on all those charges. Now he will appeal. So the system is working, is it not? The
problem is the public doesn't see it's working.
Right.
Yes, I agree with you, and I accept the substance behind it, but the issue is the perception. 85% of Americans say this is the most divided that we've ever been. Over 90% of people who are over age 65 say so. We believe it's toxic. It's no longer divisive. It's now toxic.
Right.
It was happening with you all back in 2018, 2019. You fixed it. And I'm trying to deliver a wake-up call to the media and how you cover it. And congratulations to the BBC, because what you did is you played Donald Trump unedited for about 2 minutes at the beginning of this program. That means you're serious. That means you're showing people, without demonizing him, you're showing what he had to say. Now, what he had to say is something I've never heard before. He uses language that no president has ever used. And if we continue to dehumanize each other, then how do we find common ground?
Luntz, thank you. Republican pollster. We're going to talk now to, which also runs the Republican National Convention, where Donald Trump's set to be confirmed as their candidate in July. Thank you for talking to us. I don't know if you
But also we're talking about Congress, the Supreme Court, our media, so many other things. So I think Americans are completely polarized.
If you're worried
so
too,
divided.
forgive me for interrupting, if you're worried too, doesn't that mean Donald Trump has a responsibility to calm things down?
I think he has a huge responsibility, but his responsibility is to the American people. And he's angry. They should be angry too. What happened in the office of the White House, I think less than 4 years ago right now. I don't think anyone has been targeted like he has. I don't think our system has ever been used the way that it's been used by this administration and this political DA right now.
Thank you very much for talking to our British audience tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it from us tonight. I'll see you Monday. Have a fantastic couple of days.